So now everybody, I've showed you the Budapest Gambit. What I'm going to show you now is the Benoni. So the Benoni basically goes something like this. C4 and then C5. Black is just trying to Black is just trying to attack the center. And you know, here we go, D5, just so that black cannot exchange this C pawn for the D pawn. Typically we want to keep our D pawn. I mean, typically, you know, this pawn is a little bit better than that one. But anyways, and in this position, if they went for B5, this would be the Benko gambit. But that is not what they go for here. So here they go for E6. And the idea of E6 is just to, you know, once again, just attack the center and just kind of ask, what is it that, you know, our pawns in the center are going to do. And then we go for Knight C3 just to defend. And then typically what happens is takes. Black goes for D6 just because you don't really want to ever allow white to push this pawn in good conditions. Because actually in this position, if white would be able to push that pawn and get this knight up over here, it could be very tricky to play as black. So that is why you go for that. E4 is the move after D6, just because you want to try to grab as much center as possible and just, you know, defend your other pawn, your other central pawn. You know, these pawns are friends, they want to defend each other. And then G6, and now we have a Benoni here. So this is like a modern Benoni. And in this position, what I'm gonna go ahead and show you is a line that I think is very active and I really like it. It's not the most famous and common line, but what I'm going to show you is F4. And this is the line that I play. And I absolutely love going F4. The idea of going F4 is just that you're just basically taking up some space in the center. At some point, what you want to do is that you want to go E5. This is the main idea of going F4, that you're just controlling this push square basically, and you're just taking even more center. So you have a lot of space as white in this position. I love playing F4. I think this is the most fun way to playing against the Benoni. I think this is really awesome. It's very aggressive, and I've been playing this like forever. Like, this is the only line I've played against the Benoni, and I would say that probably one of my best scores is against the Benoni. Like, I feel like against the Benoni, sometimes if black messes up a little bit, I can beat like 2100 people in like 25 moves, like, because you can go wrong here, and it's actually very tricky. And I love the kind of positions that you get from this. It's very aggressive, very aggressive. Online Torsen, I've done that, but I've played this over the board as well a lot. So the thing that you might think here is that the white king looks quite exposed in this position, right? But actually it isn't that exposed. Like, actually it's okay, and there's a lot of tricks here. So especially if you're lower rated, if black doesn't know theory here, you might just win immediately. So after F4, bishop G7, you're developing. And now the next move is a very important move to remember, is bishop B5 check. And the idea of going bishop B5 check is just that white or black can actually not really put a good piece in between the bishop and the king. Black cannot really block in any good way. So knight B D7 is a mistake here. It's actually a big mistake. I don't know. The engine is gonna see it in a second. We don't have like the highest engine power right now. The engine is gonna see this in a second. This is actually a big mistake. Bishop D7, and I'm gonna go through why as well in a second. Bishop D7 is also a mistake in this position. This is also an inaccuracy. Hello, Tomato, nice to see you here. So this is also an inaccuracy. So actually the only move, and the move that everybody at higher levels will go for, because it's the only good move, is to go knight F D7. This is basically like the move, basically, that you gotta go for. But that is why we go bishop B5 check. Typically, you know, sometimes you want to be a little bit careful with going for these checks where black is just allowed to just develop immediately. But the reason why we do this is because black actually needs to bring back one of their developed pieces, which actually stops the development of two of their other pieces. So that is why we go for this. And that is why I'm showing you this line, because most people under 15, 16, or even 1700 will not know that you have to go with this knight to block this check. Most people will not know that. So if you stay here and listen to why, you know, you have to go for this, basically, because otherwise you're just gonna get a almost lost position from the opening. I think that actually you're gonna win a lot of games in lower ratings, because many people are not gonna know that you have to go for this. So the idea basically, I'm going to start with knight d7 in this position. I'm going to go ahead and start with this. The idea is that in this position, you go immediately for e5. All right. And just very simply, the idea is basically that if this knight now goes somewhere, let's say the knight goes to h5, then you go e6. You're threatening first this knight, and now whenever that knight moves, you can threaten the next knight. So this knight is actually pinned. So actually you're just going to be winning a piece in this position. If they go queen e7, you don't care. You go queen e2 and you're blocking this check. You're just going to go ahead and win a piece in this position. Now, it's basically like, it's not like it ends there. Like obviously your king is going to be exposed and you got to be careful. But the main idea is that you're winning a piece if they go knight b7 immediately in this position. So yeah, so here you have this. Now, probably what they would have to go is to just give that piece and go for castles and then take here. You're going to have to take. So, and in this position, I would just say that something like knight e2 is just very good to block, you know, any check. You're going to castle and, you know, you're going to be a piece up. I don't think you need to know a lot more after this. Honestly, this is very interesting. Obviously, black has a little bit of counterplay, but at the same time, that counterplay is in no single way enough for the piece. So, so yeah, I mean, I think that this is just very good, and objectively it is very good. Like this is pretty much winning for white. So, it's good to remember if they go knight d7, knight b d7 after bishop b5 check, then you go for e5, e6, and you're gonna be winning a piece basically. So that is that, and this is one of the most common moves if they don't know, you know, what is happening or what they're doing. This is one of the most common moves. Now, there we have that. If bishop d7, which is another move that also looks very common, what do you do then? Well, you go for e5 as well. You go e5 as well. That is basically the idea. Whenever they go queen e7, if they ever go queen e7, you always go queen e2, just so that you stop, you know, any pin in this line, in this file, because of the king being here. After e5, what they pretty much typically have to do is either go queen e7 or take this pawn. If they just would go ahead and go like knight h5, in this position, the idea is basically, okay, I think that the computer is just not finding this move right now. I mean, I'm pretty sure you can go g4. Is g4 not a move you can do? Wait a second, guys. Maybe it's when you have queen e7. Wait, is it? Am I confusing it with this line? Wait a second. In this position, I'm pretty sure you can go g4. I think that you can do it. I don't care what the computer says. I've been looking at this. I'm like pretty sure you can go for this. Yeah, now the computer is finding it. Okay, I looked at this. I think that the computer is taking a while. Here we go. Now the engine is changing. Now the engine is changing itself. You see, guys, this is actually the line. Yeah, that's what I thought. So this is very interesting. And you're actually winning the piece here. And I know this because I've been looking at this in the past. I've played this as white. So, yeah, so that's basically what I wanted to show you. And in this position, the idea is that you can actually just go king f1 and knight g3, which is a move that actually looks scary. This actually is not scary because of the fact that this king is just so incredibly vulnerable in this position. I mean, you might wonder what happens if you take on d6, but that's actually not a move you want to do because then you're opening up for the rook. In this position, crazily enough, this move bishop d3 is just a very strong move because you're threatening to trap the queen with bishop e4. And it's pretty difficult to know how exactly white is going to get out of this. Probably, or black is going to get out of this. Probably they have to go bishop takes g4. And then after takes, you're just going to be winning. You're just going to be able to take this piece. And this is actually very good for white. So this is very, very interesting. This is very interesting. E takes d6 is wrong because you open up for the rook. The move you want to go for, and this is pretty hard, but if you memorize this, if you remember this, you can actually win so many games against the Benoni. So yeah, and this is the idea basically. This is the idea that you can go king f1, take, go bishop d3, and you're going to be trapping the queen on h1 unless they go for something like bishop takes g4. So what do you think about this? This is pretty cool stuff, isn't it? Why king f1 and not queen f2? Because you cannot go queen, or I guess you mean in this position. Oh yeah, because if you go queen f2 in this position, then you're just giving away this pawn. And we are basically saying that we want to win material, and we don't win material anymore like this. So yeah, that is that. So that is basically what I wanted to show you with this part. And that is if they start with going queen e7. Now, I just want to see, I am thinking if g4 is possible here too. I'm thinking if g4 is possible here too. It might not be though. It might not be. But then probably what you can just do is that you can just get your knight out to f3 and then you're threatening to go g4, right? And if you castle here in this position, then you go for bishop takes d7. They pretty much gotta go for queen takes d7 because if knight takes d7, you just have g4. So they gotta go for queen takes d7. And I think that in this position, white is just a lot better. So you're basically, I mean, you might even be, yeah, you might even be able to go like rook e1, e6 at some point. But because I'm not sure you can go g4 in that line as well, I'm not going to show you that. But this is just like very favorable for white because you just have so much more space. So let's go and see what happens if bishop takes b5 though. Okay, yeah, we can go ahead and look at that. So let's see. So bishop d7, e5. In what position do you want to go bishop takes b5? So let's say that they go knight h5, knight f3. If it's here, the issue with bishop with this is that we are now going to be threatening this pawn, right? So pretty much the only thing that you can do is to go queen a5 check just to force the knight to go back. But once again, then we have g4. So there's a lot of ways when you just have g4. What do you do to not like to prevent that? Are you gonna go bishop h6? That would just be really bad because like what is this bishop gonna do? Here you're just winning a piece. Like how are you gonna save the knight on h5? That is basically the idea here. Yeah, that is basically the idea. So awesome. Yeah, the knight is trapped. That is the main idea in this line. And if the knight doesn't go to h5, let's say the knight cannot go to g4 because we just take it. The knight cannot go, I mean, the knight can only go to either h5 or to b8. And if the knight goes to, sorry, to g8. And if the knight goes to g8, well, I mean, yes, is this going to be immediately winning? Perhaps not, but this is definitely going to be like a very awkward position. If you go knight e7, we just take. If you take here, we're just going to have the greatest center ever. You gotta do something to castle. So, I mean, this is just like extremely bad. I mean, maybe you don't even need to take this one because then you're gonna have this. Maybe you can even go knight e4 here now just to threaten this check. And if castles, you just go ahead and take this one. I think you might want to take it with the knight instead. So this is just like really good. So everybody, hopefully this makes you a little bit more excited to play against the Benoni. Hopefully this does that because let me tell you, when you have like all of these lines, there are going to be so many people that are going to go knight d7 or bishop d7. And let me tell you guys, you are going to enjoy playing against that if you know what you're doing. And if you forget all this, don't worry. We're going to be uploading this on YouTube so that you can get all the info back. And then you can always go back to that and just remember it. And then, you know, you'll never be afraid against the Benoni again because this is pretty awesome. This is pretty awesome. It's pretty complex, but it's pretty awesome if you know what happens. So anyway, so now we're gonna go for none of this has sunk in. It's okay. It's okay if it doesn't sink in. I just kind of want to show you the lines now. But this is something that you have to go back and repeat and play for yourself to actually learn. I'm not expecting anybody to actually learn this. I just want to show you this so that you can maybe like go back to it. So yeah. Awesome. 99% of our opponents will blunder way before that. Exactly, which is why it's so good if you remember all this, because then you'll know that they've blundered, you know? So that is really awesome. Okay, so basically they gotta go. We've looked now at what happens if knight here or bishop here. They gotta go for knight f d7. This is the move that they have to do, and this is the move that people at higher, you know, higher ratings will go for. They will go for this. And in this position, everybody, I would probably just recommend going for a4. This is the line that I typically recommend. Just because then if a6, you can just go bishop e2, and now you don't have b5. So I would say a4 is the move that I recommend just to stop this a6 b5 idea. And this is just a very useful move in all of these kind of lines. So I think that this is pretty awesome. You already play this line. Okay, Castellano. Yeah, knight f7. Exactly. So a4 is a really nice move. Another move, and I know this is the one that I recommend. I'm gonna show you what I play. I actually what I do in this position is that I actually go for bishop e2. Now you might think that this is a bit strange. Actually, maybe I'll just recommend this. I know that I said a4. I actually play this, and I know it looks very strange to go bishop b5 and then bishop e2. But basically, the idea is that if the knight goes to f6, then you just want a tempo, right? Because you've gone for this check, the knight has gone here, you've gone for this. So basically, what you're having is that instead of having like this position where it's black to move, you're basically going to be having this position where it's white to move. So you're just gaining lots of tempo. So they can't really go back. Bishop e5 check is the key move to remember. Exactly. So the idea of going bishop e2 is the same idea as a4. It's just so that if a6, you have a4. But the idea and the reason why I like this move is because if they don't go a6, you don't have to put your pawn on a4. The issue with going a4 is actually that this square is going to be, you know, a knight post for, you know, a black knight forever after you go a4 because we don't have any pawn in the c file. So the reason why it might be useful to go bishop e2 instead of a4 immediately, you can go a4. That's actually like the engine move, but and probably like one of the most theoretical moves. But why I prefer going bishop e2 is just because after, for instance, knight a6 or something, yeah, you're stopping black from having this idea of going knight a6, knight b4, and staying with the knight here forever. Like if they go knight b4 now, you can just kick it away with a3, and it's fine, you know. So they're gonna have to make like a decision of either going a6 or going knight a6 if you go bishop e2. So that's why I like bishop e2. And then if let's say castles is one of the people are less prepared for bishop e2, exactly. If castles, which is one of, you know, the most common moves, then you can just go knight f3. Awesome. What if knight f6 after bishop e2? Well, black, then that's when I said that you just continue getting your pieces out. You don't go bishop b5 check then. No, you stay the way you are because you've just gained a tempo. So yeah, here typically a lot of people will go, you know, a6 to then go b5, and then you just go a4. And here, I mean, to be honest, I really like this for white. A lot of people will go knight f6. And in this position, you typically don't want to go e5 too early. I mean, you want to castle, it might go rook e8. And in this position, this is when you can actually, after you've castled, this is when you can start considering going e5. And this is basically like the main idea of this opening. You just, when a6, you go a4 to stop any queenside majority. And what you want to do is that you at some point want to go e5 whenever the conditions are good. So you need to make sure that your king has castled and all that kind of stuff. And you might wonder, you know, what happens in a position like this. But basically the idea is that you're going to have bishop g5 in this position. If queen b6, this is also why it's important that you have this pawn on a4. You can go a5 actually. If, for instance, queen takes b2, you just go knight a4 and you're going to be having this fork. This is just actually very, 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 very good for white. So where does this queen go, you know? If this queen goes to c7, then you can push d6. Where is this queen gonna go? You can get this knight up after, you know? There's all of these squares for you in these kind of positions. And this is what typically when you see a Benoni going wrong, at least when, you know, when I just have a winning position in my games early on, is because my opponents have been playing like this. And this is a very common way of playing as black. It's an incredible space advantage that you can get very early on because of our idea of going f4 and e5. So does this make sense, chat? Does this make sense? Do you see how we can get here after castles, after having our pawn on a4? Then we can go ahead and push e5 at some point. So that is basically that. So this is the f4 line of the Benoni. Yeah, this is just kind of like some quick ideas. I know this is not that quick, but I'm just really trying to show you lots of different things with that one opening, which is really hard. But at any point, I will be uploading like the basics of this. And if at any point you want me to go more in depth, in like for instance the Benoni, I could show you like 20 first moves. Like, yeah, I've been playing this for a long time. Like I could show you a lot of moves in this. It's just that I don't want to do it because there's no point if I'm going to be showing you like 3 more lines against d4. So yeah, just let me know at any point. Maybe we could have it in the future that you just tell me one of these ones that you want me to go more in depth with, and then we'll do that.